what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Mezco 112 Collective Deluxe Wolverine. And Mezco has already put out a yellow tiger stripe style Wolverine. It came out about 4 years ago. It was a New York Comic Con exclusive. It became very rare and expensive and hard to get. So I think this was a very good re-release for Mezco, and it really looks like they improved on the figure itself quite a bit. So it's similar to the previous one, but it's new and improved, and obviously it's a little bit easier to get. But I'm excited about this because based on what I've seen so far, this thing looks amazing, and it honestly looks way better than the previous version. So I think this is going to be dope. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the box. It's a big metal box with some awesome looking Wolverine artwork on it, and that's about it. So let's go ahead and talk about the figure. Alrighty, so here we have Wolverine right out of the box. And man, this is a very impressive figure. I think that Mezco did an incredible job with it. And honestly, I think he's way better than the previous Mezco Tiger Stripe Wolverine. And I was a big fan of that one. I do feel like it's one of the more comic book accurate Mezco Marvel figures. Even though it does have, you know, heavy Mezco remix elements going on, I still feel like it captures the look from the comic pretty well. And the same thing could be said for this, but more so. I feel like this one is more comic book accurate. It does have some Mezco things going on, but not enough to distract from the look. And I think overall, it does feel very comic book accurate and, you know, more so than the previous version. But yeah, they pretty much did everything better on this guy. He came out really nice. The stitching is really clean. The articulation is tight. The sculpting work is very well done. One thing I do wish was different was the trunks, or I don't know if they're called trunks, whatever these things are called. They're made out of like a weird leathery, pleathery type of material. I wish they would have just used cloth, because this stuff here is going to crease when you mess with the figure, and it just kind of looks different from the rest. I think that cloth would have looked better, and it would have given us a more, you know, natural, cohesive look. As it is right now, the leathery look of the underwear, or trunks, whatever you want to call these things, kind of break it up a little bit. So I'm curious if these can like come off and just be replaced by some cloth underwear. I might be doing that. And as you can see, he does have the first appearance head, but the belt isn't really first appearance. But what's crazy about this figure is that he has a bunch of interchangeable belt options. He really has 2 belts, but it's 3 options because there's an interchangeable belt buckle. So that's pretty ridiculous. I love that, but we'll take a look at all that when we get into the accessories. But right out of the box, I'm very impressed with this figure. And, you know, since I had the last one, I was kind of like, oh, you know, I know what I'm getting into here. But I think they did such a better job on this guy that, you know, I was kind of blown away. But yeah, I'm really happy with this guy. So let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at the details on him. Very quickly, starting off at the head, and we'll take a closer look at each one of the heads individually when we talk about the accessories. But I've got to say, I think that Mezco did a great job on this first appearance head sculpt. And I've always been a big fan of the first appearance Wolverine because it looks kind of silly, you know? Like there's some goofy stuff going on there, but at the same time, he does look like a threat and menacing, and he looks like he's ready to kill shit. And I think that this head sculpt captures that vibe very well. So Mezco did a great job with it. I'm happy to see that the skin tone looks good. I think that Mezco continues to get better and better with their skin tones. You could see that Wolverine doesn't have like an overly waxy kind of look like previous Mezco head sculpts. So that looks nice. The eyes look good. The paint on the mask looks good. And I really like what they did with the sculpting detail on the mask, because it does kind of have a cloth-like texture to it, and that makes it blend in with the soft goods of the rest of the figure very well. So yeah, they killed it on the head sculpt. I'm very happy with it. And then moving down into the rest of the body, you could see that the neck has like wrinkles and things like that to make it kind of look like cloth, and it flows very seamlessly with the actual cloth on the figure. And as far as all that goes, this looks amazing. They did a great job with his suit. The black lines on the side look really nice. The yellow looks good. And I like that it's tight enough that you could kind of make out some of the muscles in certain positions. So that looks really nice. These black tiger stripes are very clean. And they put the stitching in the back so it doesn't obstruct any of like the main costume like design elements. You know, like it doesn't like intercept the black stripes or anything like that, and it's not in the way in the front or anything. Some of the older Mezco figures always had the stitching down the sides here, and it would just kind of run through whatever was there. But in this case, they put it in the back, very well hidden. It looks clean and good, so they did a good job with that. But yeah, the soft goods are really nice on him. And then taking a look at the shoulder pad, We have some nice sculpting work on there. It looks a little scratched and beat up. I like how we have a little bit of silver on there to kind of break up the blue, but not so much that it doesn't feel like, you know, comic book accurate. So yeah, I like the shoulder pads. Looking at the arms, we have some hair going on, and then on the forearm, we have a really good looking glove with some nice paintwork and detail and texture in there. Unfortunately, the paint on mine, on the little claw ports, is a little crazy right there, so I might have to clean that up or something. But yeah, again, we have some like silver bits that's consistent with other elements of his costume, like the shoulder pads and the boots and stuff. Yeah, so look at that. This side is pretty clean. And then taking a look at the belt here, this is awesome. We've got that X-Men belt, and I like how it has different finishes, you know, like some areas it's shiny and other areas it's kind of matte. And the belt does come off, so you could switch his belt out, so I think that's an awesome feature. And then I do wish that these things were like cloth as opposed to like this weird leather stuff, because I feel like this will crease. I don't mind the way it looks. I think it looks okay, but I'm just afraid of it creasing when I pose the figure. And moving down to the boots look awesome. You could see that they added some design elements, you know, like this right here, but they still feel like classic Wolverine. But yeah, they put their own spin on it, but not so much that it takes away from, you know, the accuracy of the figure. I mean, of the character. So yeah, I like the way the boots look. New, but classic at the same time. And just in general, I think this is a great looking figure. I especially like the first appearance look for him. I think it came out very nice. And yeah, they did a great job with the sculpting, the soft goods, the paint. All that stuff is extremely well done on this figure, and I really love the way that he looks. And then for accessories, Wolverine does come with a bunch of really good stuff, but let's start off with the simple things. He does come with multiple sets of hands, including a pair of fists. And then he comes with a set of open hands. And then for the last set of unclawed hands, we have a pointer finger on the right side and then an open hand on the left. And then we do get a pair of fists with the claws popped out, and in my opinion, Mezco still makes the best Wolverine claws in this scale. These things are beautiful and they look awesome on the figure. And then we get a set of open hands with the claws popped out, and these are equally as well done. They have a very nice metallic color and shape to them, so yeah, I think Mezco does the best job when it comes to Wolverine's claws. And then lastly, we get a pair of bone claws, and these came out really nice. I love the way they look. They're very well sculpted. I like the color and the shape, and everything about these things are very well done. And you know, I've always really liked the idea of Wolverine having bone claws because they kind of make me nervous. I feel like they could break very easily if he was in a fight with someone, and it was a nice contrast to the way that I usually saw Wolverine, because, you know, usually he's got a adamantium skeleton, healing factor, and all this stuff. You know, you almost can't even hurt him, but with the bone claws, he kind of seemed a little bit more vulnerable. And I know that he didn't have the bone claws very often, but he has had them a couple of times throughout his history, so I think it's a very cool thing for Mezco to include. And the Wolverine does come with a bunch of really great looking head sculpts, but let's start off with this one here. It's the first appearance version, and I think this is awesome. I'm a big fan of Wolverine's first appearance look, and just anytime a company makes a first appearance version of a character, I'm always down for it, because a lot of first appearances have kind of a goofy look sometimes, and there's just something charming about them, and Wolverine kind of falls in that category, you know. He's got like the whiskers going on on his mask, you know. I think that's awesome, but this is a great looking head sculpt, and it looks awesome on the figure, so they did a great job with this. And then we have another first appearance Wolverine head, and this time around he's looking pretty angry, and I think this one is good too, but I don't like it quite as much as the previous first appearance head, but I like that we get different variations of this head sculpt. And yeah, that's pretty good, man. As you can see, he's looking mad. He's got the whiskers. The eyes are very well done. And I think this is a good head sculpt. And then here we have like the 90s Jim Lee inspired head sculpt. And this came out really, really nice. And you know, now that I'm taking a closer look at this, I think this might be my favorite head sculpt out of all of them. This came out awesome. Look at the texture on the black ears, or whatever you want to call them. The yellow of the mask has some great texture too, and that applies to all of them, but I'm just kind of noticing it here. But man, this is a great looking head sculpt. I like the way the face looks, the eyes, everything about this is extremely well done. And then we do have an angry version of that same style, and this looks pretty good, but I gotta say, I don't think they do as good with the angry head sculpts as they do with the stoic head sculpts. This is pretty good, but I still like the previous one a lot more. but this does have that same level of texture that looks really good. Some of the paint isn't as clean right there. You can see that the black is on the yellow a little bit, but for the most part, I think this is a pretty good looking head sculpt. Ooh, and this one looks pretty good. This might be the best angry head sculpt that the set comes with. This came out nice. You can see that the teeth and mouth are very well done. The eyes look good. The paint is pretty clean on him. We've got that same texture that looks really nice. And yeah, this is a great looking head sculpt. I like this one. And Wolverine does come with two different unmasked heads. Here's the first one, and I think this one is pretty good. I really like the facial expression, and it does have a lot of great details. You can see a bunch of wrinkles and just a bunch of marks on the face that look really good. The paint work is nice on it too, especially on the hair. I really like the different shades of brown that we get in there, and I like the shape of the hair too. I think it looks really good, and then we have a couple of pieces of hair coming down over the forehead. I think that all looks really nice. The only thing that kind of throws this head off just a little bit is the teeth, because I feel like Mezco really struggles with teeth, but in this case they're barely visible, so it's okay. And yeah, I think this is a great looking head sculpt. I feel like Mezco is getting better and better with head sculpts. I feel like over time they've looked less and less waxy, which is a problem they had early on. And even though the heads do still have kind of a Mezco look to them, they definitely look better than they used to. But yeah, this is a great looking head sculpt. And then here we have the second unmasked head sculpt, and I think this one came out really good too. I like the calm facial expression that he has. He still looks super pissed off though, so that's very fitting for Wolverine. And we do have some nice sculpted detail in the face. Yeah, that's a dope looking face. And then the hair looks really good too, as you can see. We've got the different shades of brown that look really nice. And the hair is kind of shorter. And I feel like this one kind of has like more of a modern look to it. But yeah, this is dope. I like the sideburns. This is a great looking head sculpt. And then we do have the cowl down piece that fits nicely around his neck, and you can make it look like he removed his mask. So that's always nice to have. And then for the final head, we have a battle damaged head, and this thing looks ridiculous. I like how we could see the adamantium skull under the mask and the skin and stuff. On the back, we got a little bit of hair. The ears kind of broken off. That is super dope. It looks like he was fighting with someone that gave him purely headshots. Bam! Yeah, that's really, really dope. And it looks like he ate those. He didn't even care. He's smiling. Very nice. This is a dope looking head sculpt. And then one of my absolute favorite features on this figure is the interchangeable belt. I think that is an awesome idea. So check this out. We've got this belt on him now, but you just unpeg it from the side. And then you could bring over this belt. Put it on him, and I like to make sure that it's like kind of on the trunks, so that like it doesn't like move too much. You know, if you just have it over the trunks, it's not going to be like, it's going to kind of slide around. Well, yeah, so there we go. You put that on there, and then check this out. You could bring up the shoulder pads a little bit and kind of make them sit up high. And then with the first appearance head sculpt, that's like the perfect first appearance Wolverine. That is so awesome. And then, so check this out. Once you've got that going, if you want to change it and kind of make it like the more 90s X-Men Wolverine, you know, you have to throw on the right head. Bring the shoulder pads back down. Oh, shout out to Plastiadicto who told me about the shoulder pads. I didn't realize that feature until he brought it to my attention. So be sure to check him out. He does awesome reviews in Spanish. I'll leave a link to his YouTube and Instagram in the description below. Yeah, shout out to Plasti. But yeah, you could bring the shoulder pads down, and then you could take this belt buckle piece off and then put in the X-Men belt. And you have to make sure the holes line up right, because they're different sizes. But look at that. Now you have a completely different look for the figure. Like, that's amazing. That is so awesome that we could get two completely different iconic looks for one character in one figure with just a couple of interchangeable parts. That is so dope. Definitely one of my favorite things about this figure. I think that is awesome. But yeah, look at that. Perfect. And then Wolverine does come with some really cool looking slash effects. I like this one quite a bit. I'm not sure how to describe each one of these, but this is kind of like a swipe or something. Look at that. That's dope. And then this one here, I don't know. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. But you know what? Some of these have trouble staying on. Like, this one's pretty good. This one I was able to get on there. But like this other one, I was having a lot of trouble. Damn, these things are sharp too. I feel like I just shanked myself. But yeah, like, I feel like, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't want to force it and accidentally break the claws, but I was having trouble getting these claws in there, man. I love the idea of these things, but I feel like they could have been executed just a little bit better. I'm glad the one works, though, because that one was my favorite anyways. But look, like, I have them in the holes, but... yeah, see? Like, the claws are kind of weird, and if I let go, it'll fall off. So I don't know what the hell's going on here, but... yeah, so that one doesn't work all that well. This one goes on nicely, and this one goes on okay enough to stay for, you know, a minute till you start messing around with it. And then this one here... like, this is a cool one too, but I couldn't get it on there. Like, it's kind of forcing the claws in a weird position. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that one's okay too. But yeah, these ones, I don't know. I don't know if they're worth the risk. I like this one a lot though. I'll use this for something. See that? That's dope. I'm gonna have to spend a little bit more time on these ones because I feel like they should work, but I don't know why they aren't, you know? You know, trying it out again, it turns out like I was able to put the other effect onto the right claw, so that worked, but for whatever reason, they're not going onto the left. But yeah, they go onto the right okay, and it seems like maybe they all go onto the right without any problem. Let's see, let's try this one. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that goes on there too. So maybe something's up with my left claw. But yeah, I like these effects a lot. I just wish they worked on both hands, you know? And then he does have one more claw slashing effect, and this one is okay, but when I saw it in the box, I thought it would be a little cooler. It doesn't seem to actually function in any way that makes sense. I feel like if it was a little bit bigger, or if like each one of these was kind of rounded so it looks like it wrapped around them a little bit, you could do something cooler with this. But as it is right now, it seems I don't know, maybe I just don't know what I'm doing with these damn claw effects, but as of right now, this is like the best I could do. So I look forward to seeing some pictures of people smarter than me making this work, because as it is right now, I'm just kind of like, it's all right. I was kind of hoping to do something cool with this, but it just doesn't, like, it's not big enough to make it look like he's kind of swinging his arm, or, you know, swinging his claws out and has his arms like all the way out. Like, it's just like part of the way, and it kind of looks weird. But I do appreciate that they put in the claw effects, because, you know, it's definitely an awesome idea. I just wish they were a little better executed. As it stands, this is the only one that really works for me. And yeah, I definitely plan to do some stuff with this. I think that looks good. But aside from that, all the other claw effects are just okay. And then another awesome accessory that Wolverine comes with is this destroyed Sentinel. And this thing looks incredible. They did a great job with the sculpted detail on it. You can see that we have like coils and all kinds of different robotic pieces coming out. I like how we have those slashes. It looks like Wolverine just kind of whooped his ass real quick. Even though this does kind of look like a baby Sentinel, you know. Maybe Wolverine shouldn't be so proud for taking this one out. In my mind, Sentinels are huge, like bigger than buildings. This one doesn't look like he would have been that big. But still, Wolverine whooped his ass. It doesn't matter. But one thing I really love about this, aside from all the amazing detail, is the light up feature. So you could press this button right here. And as you could see, we have some awesome lights going on. We have a light coming out from the chest that kind of pulses, and then a light that comes from one of the eyes right here. And he also has this little piece where it looks like he ripped the eye out from the Sentinel. So that's really dope. And then we have the eye kind of blinking there. And then on this side, we have a red eye that's glowing. So yeah, this thing is incredible. And then, you know, Mezco figures always come with the standard Mezco stands, so these are nice. And there's always a peg that goes right in here where you could place the figure on the peg, or you could remove it, and you could put the articulated posing arm. But in this case, we have the Sentinel that has like all these little ports all over him, and they blend in very well with the design of it. Like, I didn't even notice that was a thing at first, but yeah, it's got all these little ports, and you could take this little piece or the posing arm if you want and place them into the ports, and that kind of gives Wolverine a place to stand. It is kind of tight, so it might be tough taking that out, but you know, it makes it so you could have Wolverine stand like pretty much anywhere, like very securely, and you could kind of change it up, move that peg around if you need to, or whatever you want to do. But that is awesome. That's a really great idea, and I like how well they integrated those ports into the design of the Sentinel. It doesn't like interrupt the look or anything. It looks very natural. It looks like part of it. So yeah, that's awesome. But look at that. That's a really great looking display piece. That's definitely how he's going to go on my shelf. I like how the light is easily accessible, so you could turn it on and off as you like. And yeah, man, that is dope. I love that. Alright, so now for some quick size comparisons. Here we have the new Deluxe Mezco Wolverine alongside the previous Tiger Stripe Wolverine from Mezco, and then the brown suit Wolverine on the opposite side. And as you can see, the new Wolverine is just so much better than the previous Tiger Stripe version. It's much more comic book accurate, and just overall, it's a way better looking figure. It functions way better. It has way better accessories, and they just did everything better on him than they did on the previous one. And I would love to see them give the brown suit Wolverine the same exact treatment, make it more comic book accurate, and give it a bunch of crazy accessories. And then next up, we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Jim Lee Cyclops and the Mezco 112 Collective Deadpool. And then here we have him alongside the Mezco Old Man Logan and Mezco Logan. And then next up, we have Wolverine alongside one of the best Mezco figures, and that would be the 112 Collective Iron Fist. On the opposite side, we have the 112 Collective Daredevil. And Daredevil is another figure that's in desperate need of a classic redo, just like Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Superman. I think that Mezco can make a great classic Daredevil, and it would be awesome to see them do it because there's not a whole lot of classic Daredevil figures out there that are really good. You know, Marvel Legends has a few, but that's about it. So I would like to see Mezco do just like a classic Daredevil without like all the weird plastic overlay stuff, just a regular cloth stretchy suit just like Iron Fist, make them superposable and just classic. I think that would be really dope. And then next up, we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Captain America and the Mezco 112 Collective Gambit. And I'm happy that both of these characters are so much taller than Wolverine. I think that works very well. And then next up, we have him alongside the Mafex Tiger Stripe Wolverine, I guess you could call it. And then on the opposite side, we have the brown suit Wolverine. And I personally think this new Mezco yellow Wolverine is better than the Mafex one. But Mafex still has them beat on the brown suit. This thing is awesome. And then next up, we have Wolverine alongside the Marvel Legends Beast, but this one has a custom head from May Shelf and soft goods pants from Tiny Pants Tailoring. And with those additions, I feel like this Beast is almost untouchable. On the opposite side, we have the Marvel Legends Nightcrawler from the Wendigo Build-A-Figure wave, I believe it was. I could be wrong on that. Let me know in the comments. But you know, before this past weekend, which is when Comic-Con 2022 took place, I would have said that it would be cool to see a Mafex Beast, but I really think that Hasbro is going to come out with the end-all Beast, with the one that they recently announced, which is basically this figure but with an additional head and a lab coat. I feel like that's pretty much all this figure was missing. So yeah, I really love this Beast figure. It's probably one of the best Hasbro Marvel Legends. And then next we have him alongside the Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary Captain America and the Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man figure. And as you can see, Wolverine looks great next to these awesome looking Legends figures. And he looks really good with Mafex stuff, as we could see with him alongside the Mafex Psylocke and the Mafex Jim Lee Cyclops. And of course, we have Wolverine alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And I don't know why I did so many size comparisons, but here he is in his first appearance look alongside the Marvel Select Immortal Hulk and the Marvel Legends 2-pack Hulk. And then for the articulation, it does feel very familiar because the body is very similar to the previous Mezco Wolverine figures, but I do feel like the joints get more range and they just kind of improved on the playability of it overall. So I think they did a great job with it. But let's go ahead and take a look, starting off with the head. He does have movement at the lower neck and at the upper neck, so using both of those, you could get his head to tilt to the side a really good amount. Look at that. Then he could look up to about right there, which is pretty crazy. And then it could look down to right there. You could get his chin into his chest. That's nice. And then it could look side to side. So really good stuff there. And then he does have a diaphragm cut and a ball joint at the waist. Using both of those, he goes forward to right there, which is pretty decent for a Mezco figure. Yeah, that's good for sure. I like that. And then it does go side to side a pretty good amount, so you could get some pretty dynamic movement out of that torso. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot more movement than previous Wolverines were able to do. Even though it's not like a crazy amount, it's still pretty good. So I'm happy with what we have going on with the torso, and then we get a little bit of twist from the diaphragm and from the waist. So yeah, good stuff there. And then for the arms, he does have a butterfly joint at the shoulder. And I feel like the butterfly joint gets a lot more movement than we've typically seen on Mezco figures, so that's nice. And then he does have a ball joint at the shoulder that goes all the way around. And as you can see, the shoulder pad just kind of travels with it. So I always like when that happens. And the shoulder pad is on a little hinge, so you could kind of move it up out of the way or whatever you need to do. And then the arm is able to come up a pretty good amount, but it does get really tight. In fact, there's a piece in there that kind of presses on the shoulder and it left a couple of indentations. So that does kind of suck. So you want to be careful bringing it up. That's about as far as you could bring it up without having any problems. If you go up further than that, you might make some marks in the shoulder. I already did it on mine, so that does kind of suck, but you know, it is what it is. It doesn't bother me too much because you could bring the shoulder pad down and it's covered anyways, so it's no big deal. And then he does have upper bicep swivel. He's got double jointed elbows, which get a pretty decent bend, a little bit more than 90, so bam, there we go. He has a ball joint at the wrist that does have a hinge in it as well, so you could hinge his hand up and down and then you could swivel the ball joint however you need to. So good stuff there. And then for the legs, he can kick out to the side a really good amount. Look at that, bam. There we go, that works. The belt does kind of shift around depending on what you're doing, so if you're taking pictures and stuff, you have to be mindful of the belt. You might have to reposition it so it doesn't look like it's coming up or anything, or it doesn't look like it's not attached to the trunks or whatever these things are called. But yeah, that's pretty good movement to the side there. And then you could bring his leg forward to right there, but you want to be careful because you can crease the, whatever these things are called, the trunks. I keep calling them trunks. I know they're not trunks, but whatever these things are called can get creased if you're moving the leg too far forward, but it does move forward to about right there. You could bring it back to about right there. And then he does have upper thigh swivel, which is nice. He's got double jointed knees, which get a pretty good bend. Look at that. Bam. There we go. Doesn't seem like he has a swivel at the boot, which he should. It doesn't make sense that he doesn't, but maybe they wanted to make sure the pants don't come undone. But he does have a swivel at the foot, and then it goes forward to right there, which is nice. It comes up to there, and then we get a little bit of rocking action. So the ankles are pretty good. But yeah, overall, I think the articulation is pretty nice on him. Definitely better than previous Mezco Wolverine figures. I think you could do a lot with it, but you're still going to have the same problems because, you know, he's got soft goods and there's going to be restrictions. But that's pretty much the case with all Mezco figures. But I think for the most part, this guy has pretty good articulation and he is fun to play with. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I think this is an amazing figure, and I feel like Mezco absolutely destroyed it. They did a great job on him. I really don't have any major complaints about him. I have a couple of small nitpicks, but nothing that can't be ignored, avoided, or just, you know, overlooked. For the most part, I think they did pretty much everything perfect on this guy. But as far as those nitpicks go, I will say I'm not a huge fan of the claw slashing effects. I think those could have been done a little better. It's a cool idea, but I wish they were executed better, and I wish they were able to stick on the claws more securely, because they can look cool, but if they're not staying on the claws, they're just more headache than they're worth. And then I do wish that he had like cloth trunks instead of the weird leather stuff that we have going on, because I'm afraid that that stuff will crease over time. And then finally, I wish there was a little bit more clearance in the shoulders, because when I raise his arms up, I get little indentations on the shoulder itself, and that kind of sucks. And it looks like they kind of go away after a while. It just sucks to have to deal with that or have to think about it. But honestly, if I wasn't really doing reviews, I probably wouldn't put his arms that high up anyways. So as it is, Wolverine could get his arms into any type of pose that you'd want for Wolverine. But, you know, I just wish there was a little bit more clearance there, and it wouldn't be something that I'm sitting here talking about. That would have been nice. But as it is right now, it's a little tight. But aside from those things, I think this is pretty much like the perfect Wolverine figure. I mean, it's pretty damn close. I've got to say, it's going to be one of my favorite Wolverines. I think it's one of the best Mezco Wolverines that they've ever done. And I also think it's one of the best comic book superhero figures that they've done. Oftentimes, whenever they do like the comic book versions of characters, they always make them a little different, try to give them like a realistic twist or just kind of change things. Right here, they just kind of went with the accurate Wolverine look, or an accurate enough Wolverine look, and just embraced it and just absolutely killed it. Everything about the way this figure looks is amazing. I love all the different options that we have, the different looks that we could give them, the different heads, the different types of claws, the belts, just all that stuff is amazing. Articulation is pretty good on him too, especially considering that it's a Mezco. You know, we're only going to get so much out of Mezco. I think that's understood at this point, especially because of the soft goods and all that. But I think that they pretty much maximized the articulation on this guy, and they gave us as much as possible, and he's definitely fun to play with. And I feel like the soft goods on him are durable enough for the most part, except for the trunks. Everything else feels real good when you're posing him around. So just in general, it's a very positive experience when you're playing around with this figure. And that's important to me. I know everyone else has different opinions. It's like, oh, why are you playing with your toys, you weirdo? It's like, because they're fucking toys. I want to play with them. And you know, the fun factor is high priority for me. And this Wolverine figure does have like a high fun factor. You could pose him around, make him look awesome, get him into cool Wolverine poses. And then on top of that, you have all these different display options, change up the looks. You could do all kinds of different things. There's so much fun that you could have with this figure. And yeah, man, I think that Mezco did an incredible job, and I'm so happy that they revisited Wolverine. Hopefully they revisit more comic book characters and just do it more accurately. I would love to see them revisit Daredevil, Captain America. Who else? Deadpool would be a nice one too, because the one they did had all kinds of stuff going on. There's a lot of characters they could revisit and do them more faithful to the comic book. And if they do what they did with Wolverine, you know, they would be putting out some amazing figures. I know they're doing it with Superman too. That's going to be awesome. There's a bunch of DC characters they could do that with. Like, I would love a comic book accurate Deathstroke from Mezco. I think they could do that. But anyways, yeah, Mezco killed it on this Wolverine figure, and I really do love it. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'm getting very close to 50,000 subscribers, so please, if you're not subscribed, make sure that you are so I could get there even sooner. I appreciate everyone who watches the videos, everyone who leaves comments, all the engagement and feedback. I appreciate it all, so please continue. Thank you so much, everybody. Peace out.